$6.6 billion spent by users in 2023 alone, more than the combined salaries of the NBA, the NHL, Major League Baseball.
Everyone's heard of OnlyFans, but no one really knows what it is. There's a house in LA, and there's a girl named Sophie Rain, who's a Christian OnlyFans girl, and she's got a bunch of girls that literally look like they're 12 years old, and they make childlike content on TikTok to be able to promote their OnlyFans. So I hear mothers that tell me, little girls are now like, I want to be a part of I love it.
Oh my Lord. This is diabolical. It's like a feeder system. So we've had a Lecrae who said she made $14 million. Then we had like China who said she was making like $20 million a month at her height. Is that the reality for most girls?
The reality is the average wage of an OnlyFans creator is $180 a month.
Were you there long enough to say, I know this is gonna be successful? Were you able to figure that out?
Yes, the younger the better.
Sheesh. This is dark. Okay, I want to show you a couple things.
In my head right now, I can think of like 5, 6 guys, 10 guys that I remember, and that's it.
I don't ever have like one answer.
It's fine. Yeah.
This is The Deep End with Lecrae.
All right, so my next guest, incredible story. This young lady is an Australian who is an incredible business consultant who used her marketing expertise to become an OnlyFans recruiter. But once she dove deeper in and got to see what was going on under the hood, things began to change. She felt conflicted and decided to do something about the conflict that was warring in her own soul, and has created an incredible organization to help young women see their value and their worth. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Victoria Sinis.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I appreciate you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So that's a lot.
That was a mouthful. Yeah.
There's so much that I want to know. Let's just get a background on who you are, first of all. Just like, who are you? Where'd you come from? How did you get to where you were?
Yeah, definitely. So as you said, Australian. I'm born and raised in Melbourne. I guess a random fun fact, I'm a first generation Aussie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm actually technically not Aussie at all. My father was born in Greece and my mother was born in Manchester.
Wow.
Yeah, and then they met in Australia. So that's kind of cool. So
Okay.
yeah, but always grew up in Melbourne. I love it. But yeah, I guess my background has been in business and startups and marketing and building things. And I love it. I love like the chaos of startups and all of that. And so yeah, that's a little bit, I guess, about me.
The skill set, like you got good at it. And then how does OnlyFans come into the picture? Are you working somewhere else before that, or what happens?
Yeah, definitely. So basically what had happened was I was helping one of my other close personal friends build their businesses, and it was in hospitality. And hospitality is brutal. We were doing like 100-hour work weeks for like months and months on end. Yeah. So like, I guess the context to set it up, doing that, I went overseas to Europe for like a month to have a holiday. And I was like, I can't keep doing this. Like, this is killing me. And it just so happened when I was overseas in Europe, I had another close personal friend who had started this thing called an OnlyFans agency. And the reason they had started the agency is they actually had people in their world that were already pretty prominent in OnlyFans in Australia and also actually in America. And they were complaining about their agencies. So this person who I knew quite well had an exceptional educational background. They were actually an ex-criminal defense lawyer. Yeah. And so they were like, I think that we could do this. We have girls that are in the industry. They're already, I guess, quite well known, quite successful. They understand what agencies need and don't need. This person obviously is incredibly intelligent. So when I came back home, they were like, hey, like you have the background in businesses, you've built businesses, you do marketing, all of that. Would you be interested in helping us to get this up and running? So in my lens, I was like, number one, I love business. And I was like, I need to get out of hospitality. But I hadn't really heard of much about OnlyFans, you know?
That's what I was going to ask you. How'd you heard about it? Yeah.
So I feel like it's just a term that's been kind of interjected into our culture. Everyone's heard of OnlyFans, but no one really knows what it is. And that was my lens. So I was like, oh, well, I hear that like this is liberating. I think it's a positive. I think you can just sell your feet on there. Like I don't really know. But the people that I knew, I looked at them and I was like, okay, these people were, I guess, once poor, now they're rich in quotation marks. So I think that this has to be a good thing. So that was just really my lens going into it of like, heard this everywhere. I think it's liberating and I just think you can make a lot of money by not doing a lot. And that I think is a really common narrative for a lot of people.
Yeah. It is interesting. So let's do some people a favor then. Let's explain what OnlyFans actually is. I'm gonna tell you what I know, and then you can dive deeper. So first of all, let's talk about how big it is. $6.6 billion spent by users in 2023 alone.
Yeah, wow.
Makes more money than Spotify. Exceeds the global box office and earnings of every movie released in 2023. More than the combined salaries of the NBA, the NHL, Major League Baseball, and the growth is outpacing Instagram and TikTok's early years. This is basically an adult content site, right?
Yeah.
Like, so what else would you say about it besides what I just said? Because like people are like, what is OnlyFans exactly?
Yeah, I like to kind of bring it back to the original intention of OnlyFans, and I think that context is helpful.
Okay.
So OnlyFans actually originated in 2016.
Okay.
And so the original intent, from my understanding anyways, is it was to decentralize social media because it is quite difficult, as we know, to build platforms on these mainstream. Obviously, back then it was Facebook and Instagram.
Yep.
So if you think about it, you're like, okay, I can come onto OnlyFans. I really love to bake. I'm going to be able to upload recipes, be able to show people how I do things, but it's behind a paywall. So I can actually create this micro community and I can get paid for it. So it makes a lot of logical sense. So, and the whole allure of OnlyFans isn't just that you kind of have this paywall and people upload content, but I can directly communicate with the person who has that OnlyFans account. So just say if I'm uploading all these different things and I'm baking and doing all of this, you could message me and be like, Vic, you know that video that you put up and I don't know, the muffins and all, can you help me? Yeah. And I'd be like, yeah, don't worry, I got you. And I'd send you something else maybe for $2 and so the concept is really smart if you think about it. But what OnlyFans has and allows is this thing called not safe for work content. So not safe for work content is kind of the terminology that's used for pornographic content. And so we see now in 2020, it just blew up as a porn platform. And I've read all different statistics, anywhere that range from like 80 to 98% of all content now on OnlyFans is not safe for work content.
Wow.
So it's kind of really gone away from, I guess, this wholesome intent, I would assume, of, hey, let's decentralize, let's let people monetize their accounts, you know, these juggernaut businesses. It's really hard to do that, to now it's just like, you kind of just associate it. And I don't think really many people go on there unless they kind of want to do some sort of not safe for work content.
Right.
Yeah.
So essentially it was social media, but like behind a paywall.
Yeah.
And then as soon as they said, well, we'll let some NSFW's content live there, that just flooded the site, the market. And then that became the most prominent aspect of it.
Yeah.
And somebody had to figure out that if I show people some scantily clad images or something along those lines, I make more money than if I just, I don't know, post about baking or something along those lines. That's what I'm assuming.
Well, I wonder, this is like, I don't have an answer, but I wonder, and if the whole allure, because if you have a look at 2020, why would it have blown up during lockdown? What again is the allure of OnlyFans compared to traditional pornography? It's this, I can communicate with you. So if you kind of pull on the thread, I think a little bit deeper, you go, oh, it seems like the whole strength of OnlyFans is this connection point, building relationships. That girl that I follow on Instagram, I can have a friendship with her to some capacity. I can talk to her. She knows me. Dang. And I can ask her to do anything. And I think that that's what the draw to OnlyFans is. It's this curiosity piece. But then it's this whole, and I'm sure we'll get into it, but then this whole relationship aspect that's built. And I think that's why it kind of blew up so much, especially during a time where everyone was basically in lockdown.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I was looking at an article earlier, and it talked about capitalizing on the desirability and the desire for relationships, and it like capital. Now, I've never been on OnlyFans, so I don't understand the function. Are you like the person sees you, or is it both ways, or you can only see the person that you're following?
So just say like, do you mean like in like a webcam perspective?
Right. Like if I follow said person, can they see me, or I just see them and they send me messages?
So this is like a big, I guess, also misconception that it's like webcamming live stream.
Right.
Anyways, my exposure in the agency where I worked at, because I just don't want to generalize, but not a lot of that happened in any capacity at all. I didn't see any of that. It's this thing called pay-per-view content, and so locked content. Yeah. So what it is, think of like an Instagram feed, and so you would see everything on the Instagram feed, but then the whole kind of main place where you spend your time is in the messages. And so every day you're sending a certain amount of pay-per-views to people. You're sending like free content. You're sending all. And so that's where it's all happening. It's all in the messages and it's all in the content that you're sending, and everything's stored in this thing called a vault. So that's kind of where the difference is. It's not necessarily like you're jumping online and like live streaming on OnlyFans.
So they're sending, if they have time, the person you're following will create a personalized message and then send that to you if you pay for it.
In theory, yes.
In theory, okay. That makes sense. So I want to read you this quote, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. It says, while traditional entertainment sells distraction, OnlyFans has perfected the monetization of being seen. The platform hasn't just created a market for digital desire, it's proved that personalized intimacy, even in its most manufactured form, is now more valuable than almost any form of entertainment we produce. Like, what do you think, like this whole concept of personalized intimacy is more valuable for folks now?
Dang it, isn't that sad?
Yeah.
It makes me think, and I guess this is like a controversial, I don't know, thing in like this like anti-sex trafficking movement, anti-human trafficking, anti-porn, whatever. But I'm like, oh my gosh, we are literally destroying men. Because what that tells me is that someone's gone, oh, I can just realize that the weakest essence of a man, and we know all the statistics about men currently, and they're the highest rate of suicide, mental health, men are really struggling. So that tells me that someone's gone, well, you can literally just leverage off like the brokenness of men and make money off it. But we're putting it in these fluff words. Because the majority of subscribers are men, and what are they looking for? They're looking for a relationship. They're looking for connection. So this is why it's a bigger, like OnlyFans is a bigger cultural issue than just people putting naked photos on the internet. It's because of things like this, and what is it doing? And like, again, what is happening in our world, and how is this bleeding into everything? So for me, I'm like, that just shows that people don't care about the fact that they're just, again, using men to be able to make profit.
What was it? Like, talk us through the story of you becoming a recruiter and then like saying, wait a minute, I don't like this. What happened there?
Yeah, okay, so I can go like through the whole...
Go for it. Yeah, take us down the path.
Yeah, because I guess all the elements matter because it all kind of ties into each other.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll go back to, just came back from Europe, had someone really close to me be like, hey, Vic, this is what we're doing. Are you interested? I was like, yep, that sounds great. Ended up quitting working in hospitality with my other friend building their businesses. And so any startup, as you know, there's no money in startups.
Right.
Like, so for about almost 6 months, I would say it's like an unofficial consultancy role. Again, really close friends and stuff like that. So every single day you're working on the business, you're doing all the things. And so as we're building the business, we're realizing that there's kind of 3 main elements to an OnlyFans agency. And so element number 1 to an agency, and the whole point of why agencies exist, is account management. And so if you think about this from a logistical perspective, if you have a girl, just say on social media, on Instagram, that has hundreds of thousands of followers, and she's funneling all those followers to her OnlyFans, she's perhaps having at least tens of thousands of people on her OnlyFans. Well, now we know that the whole allure of OnlyFans is that we can communicate. So how can she then logistically sit there and communicate to thousands of people every single day, 24/7, 7 days a week, send all this content, upload it to the vault, promote her OnlyFans, get people coming in? You just can't do that.
Right.
So you have to offset all of that. So that's why agencies exist, to maximize the profits of girls' OnlyFans account and take a percentage.
Okay.
So the whole role of an account manager is at the agency I worked at, as you onboard the girl, and you get her to fill out like this questionnaire. And the questionnaire will basically be every single little intimate detail that you can find about the girl. And we can get into even like some of the things that are like on the questionnaire. Because I think that plays into this bigger thing about the ethicalness
what's the type
of it.
of question would?
So just say like one of the things that we talk about, that I talk about often, is the levels. And so this kind of plays into, people say that this is ethical, that there's free will, it's empowering, and the girls get to choose. And so the reason why I think this is important to explain is that as soon as you're inaugurated into this ecosystem, you haven't even signed the contract to come into the agency. You're doing this questionnaire, and it's got this thing called levels. And so level 1 is, and it's your content that you're comfortable with. So you'll fill in all these intimate personal details about yourself, and you get to the levels. Level 1 is bikini and lingerie, Instagram content, we call it.
Okay.
Level 2 is implied nude. Level 3 is full nudity, and excuse the language. Level 4 is everything but anal, and level 5 is everything. So the reason why that's significant is because you're coming into this, I have an expectancy of what I'm comfortable with. But I'm seeing this. If I tick the bottom, does that mean I have to get to the top to be successful? Like, what's the psychological play here?
Wow.
Yeah. And then there's this stigma at the agency when girls were like, I'm not making like enough money, or I'm not. And well, you're just a level 3. So there's this soft influence from the agency. And then again, think about the desensitization. Level 1 on a traditionally now porn platform, and we're calling it Instagram content.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many threads we can pull on here. But then and this is kind of jumping ahead, but I'll circle back. As we went along at the agency, we've realized that level 1 makes no money. And it was actually my idea. I was like, well, why don't we just get rid of it? So then people don't even have the option.
Wow.
So then you're already entering into this system. Again, I think you can just sell your feet on there. But wait a minute, I'm coming on here and you're telling me that the base that I have to do is implied nudity. And so that's really important to understand already what's happening psychologically to these girls. And we're just at the questionnaire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, well, before you keep moving forward, because there's a misconception of the type of young ladies who would be applying. Are they from all walks of life and just like... And they're ticking that box.
I think it's really unique. Back home in Australia, prostitution, like brothels, strip clubs, all this stuff is legal. So there is a totally different lens in America where this stuff is illegal.
Yeah.
A lot of the girls here are, actually, no, it's everything.
So
I hear about
there's a more desensitization in Australia.
There's way more. So just say it's desirable. But then I was even going to say here, it's so desirable. Like, it's everyone. It doesn't matter if you come from a good family, if you come from, stable parents, if you like, it's just all spectrums, all ages. At the agency, we saw women that were over 30. We saw women that were extremely financially successful, still opting in to do this. And then of course you see the ones that come from like the lower SES backgrounds, the hardened lives. Like, there's just a range, I guess.
Yeah. So they're signing. Well, before they sign, they're deciding what level am I going to choose?
Yeah.
We're doing away with level 1 because we're not making any money. Where are you seeing success in the agency? Like, were you there long enough to say, I know this is going to be successful? Like, were you able to figure that out?
Yeah. So that ties into like the whole recruitment element. But niches, obviously, fetishes. We saw a lot of subscribers that, because you can do this thing called a custom request. And so that's where you can ask for anything that you want and you'll just pay for it. And so obviously niches and promoting girls is like, goth, nerdy, whatever type of thing does really well. And then the younger, the better.
Sheesh.
So when I was working at the agency, and this ties in, have you heard of the Bop House in LA? So working at the agency, the top 3 search categories in porn at that time was teen, fresh teen, and barely legal. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. It's wild if you...
Crazy.
And so that's why I asked about if you've heard of the Bop House, because there's a house in LA and there's a girl named Sophie Rain who's a Christian OnlyFans girl. And she's got a bunch of girls that literally look like they're 12 years old, and they're all in this mansion in LA, and they make childlike content on TikTok to be able to promote their OnlyFans. But it's also a recruitment tactic because now little girls, and I know this because I hear mothers that tell me, little girls are now like, I want to be a part of the, I love it. Everywhere I go, every single girl will put their hand up when I say, do you watch Bop House content?
Oh my Lord.
And they all idolize it. Like I heard in Redding, California, at a high school there, young girls are storing up their content. So when they're 18, they can go to the Bop House, if you can read between the lines of what,
Yeah. So it's like, it's diabolical. It's like a feeder system.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that comes into like the whole marketing.
Sheesh.
Yeah, it is.
This is dark.
It is. I know. But like like I think
it's necessary to expose.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like the whole entire eco. I know. I want to laugh as well because like, it's really heavy and I'm sorry.
No,
but...
it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. But continue because it's got to be exposed. Like we need to know what's going on because I think we casually talk about it.
Correct.
And, we've had guests on here who participated and talked about their experiences. And so for me, it's like understanding the underworkings and undergirdings of it all. And just how diabolical it is, because you just don't think about it from that perspective. You don't, it's just kind of like in America specifically, it's like, oh, strip club, it's just strip club, it's just strip club, it's no big deal. But when you lift the hood up and you're like, oh, there's a lot going on behind the scenes that we're not even considering. And so I'm listening to you, and it's like, oh wow, this is like a strategic, dark plan to like reshape society in a lot of ways.
Yeah, totally. That's why I care so much about like the cultural piece of this, and like we'll talk about it, I guess, but the social media influence and all of that, because it's literally softly influencing a generation to idolize becoming sex workers on like a huge magnitude. And so you're 100% right. Like it's something that definitely, hopefully people can now just like be like, dang, like I see that. Like I now even like the Bop House, know what it is, know what's going on, like don't want a bar of it.
Okay, so this is a stat. I was just looking at this stat, and it said that 90% of OnlyFans users are married, predominantly married men. Is there a reason why you think that is?
Oh, so this comes back into, how we were saying about, so we had these things called chatters. Do you know what chatters are?
No.
Okay, so this comes back into account management. So again, the whole allure is that we get to have a conversation, yeah?
Okay.
And so you have now come onto OnlyFans, you're a subscriber, and you followed your favorite Instagram girl, and now you get to have conversations with her. Well, if we go to the back end again and remember that this girl can't sit there and facilitate all these conversations 24/7, do you think us as the owner, well, the people that run the agency, are we going to be the ones doing it?
No.
So we offset that and we hire people from, ours were from the Philippines. And so it's cheap labor. So it's people that you pay like $1 to $5 an hour, and their role, that's why you have the questionnaire, because the questionnaire turns into a brief, and then that brief is of the girl, and you give that to the chatter. And a chatter is someone that it's a commission job, and they'll pretend to be 4 to 5 girls, and they're just sexting men for 6 to 7 days a week, 12 to 14-hour days, trying to make as much money off them as possible in this thing called the girlfriend experience. And that's what we would train them in.
Woo.
Yeah.
So my brain is...
I know.
So on one hand, Mr. Smith thinks he's chatting with this bombshell on the platform, but really...
It's some dude in the Philippines.
Some dude in the Philippines smoking a cigarette.
Yeah.
It's crazy. That's enough for you to get off the site, people.
Like, please.
There's a guy typing you nasty things.
Yeah.
Cut it out. Oh my gosh. That's hilarious. It's Jim over there smoking a cigarette.
It's Jim.
Typing you crazy.
Plugging it into the spreadsheet, being like, dang, another $50.
Oh my gosh.
But that's the reality. Isn't it crazy?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That is wild. Okay, so we've had, Nala Ray, who says she made $14 million as an OnlyFans, entertainer. I
Yeah.
don't know the term, but then we had Black China, who said she was making like $20 million a month at her height. Is that the reality for most girls, or is it like, what is the?
Yeah, this is like a personal, I guess, like pet peeve I have when people just in general like interview OnlyFans girls. How much did you make? Dang. Well, the reality is the average wage of an OnlyFans creator is $180 a month. So there's a statistic, I can find it to fact check it. I'm pretty sure it's in 2022. There was 2.1 million creators on OnlyFans, and only 300 of 2.1 million were making more than $1 million a year.
Only how many?
300 out of 2.1 million.
Sheesh.
So, but if you think about it again, think about it from a business perspective. Imagine all these nameless and faceless people that have 100, 200 followers. They think that they can jump on, they're going to make all this money because they're comparing it to a Cardi B, who's an international singer.
Yeah.
Of course she can pull in these people, and it's that curiosity. I want to see more of Cardi B. She hypersexualizes herself. I can talk to Cardi B. No way. Dang. Or whoever it is.
Yeah.
So it makes sense because they have the people to pull.
Yeah.
So someone like Nala, she speaks about, I've listened to a lot of her stuff. Dude, she's like, I went hard. There's another girl from the Bop House who talks about this. She's like, I'll have the 4 to 5 TikTok accounts. I'm posting 20 times a day. And that was the requirements we would have. So it's like, there is so much of a business perspective that again goes into making an account successful. And so the reality is you're going to jump on, you're going to realize that you have to do really extreme content, because if there's 2.1 million people on there, a majority of it is pornographic content. Imagine how extreme it has to be.
Yeah.
You're not going to make a lot of money. That's going to be there forever. And then now you're going to delete the account and be like, oh my gosh, like how do I move on with my life? And this is a common story that I literally hear from people of went on, didn't make that much, tried, and deleting your account isn't easy. Like, I don't know if Nala has spoken about this at all, but I even had a friend back home who was trying to delete it. If you have paid subscribers on your account, you need to get them off. They need to cycle out. You can't like directly, it's not like you can message OnlyFans and there's like some little person that helps you. You get a ticket.
Yeah.
And so even just the steps to get your account shut down, but that doesn't get rid of the content because it's on the internet forever. It's not protected.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what was the moment of like of clarity for you? Like, how did this happen where you were like, wait a minute, this is not okay?
Yeah.
What happened?
So for me, you've got like the account management side. I was doing all the marketing. So my role was to make girls go as viral as possible, as quickly as possible, to put people into funneling systems. And so that like, that's a whole thing in itself. But I wasn't seeing the back end of OnlyFans yet.
Okay.
And so I've never even personally been exposed to pornography. I've never like consumed it. Like, and so what had happened was we realized that, again, if we're impersonating someone and you've got me over here who's doing all the marketing, and then you've got the OnlyFans account manager who's running all of that. Well, if you're the subscriber and you're talking to the girl here and talking to the girl here, but we're not communicating, you're going to be like, dang, wait a minute. I told you that over here. Oh, is it really you? Hold on, wait a minute. So we're like, okay, we have to change the way that we structure the business. So instead of doing all of the marketing and then there's this person doing all the OnlyFans, we split the girls in half and you started to do the full life cycle. So this is when I started to see everything, and I started to see all the porn, and I started to see what the girls were doing. And I'm like, I've built relationships to some degree with these girls at this point, got to know them, know their stories, their personalities, like who they are as people. And then I'm jumping on the back end and I'm seeing these acts. And it's just, I'm just malfunctioning. So I'm seeing porn technically for the first time. And then it's people that I know, and it's people that I've built relationships with. And I'm like watching this stuff and I'm like, you have incredible family values. You're so funny. You're so generous. You're so kind. And I'm watching what you're doing and I'm like, what? This is what we're doing.
They were degrading themselves, like demeaning themselves. Yeah.
And it's just like these women were so exceptional. And then I'm watching and I'm like, and it all kind of clicked together from that perspective. But what was happening in my heart is I was like, this is wrong. And so I started to ask questions. And I started to ask people at the agency who worked there, like, what do you think about what we're doing? And someone told me they're like, people, you know, safe injecting heroin rooms.
Yeah.
They're like, it's like a safe injecting heroin room. People need a safe place to do drugs. We give people a safe place to do porn.
Wow.
And I just wasn't satisfied with the answers I was getting. And so for me, what had happened was I was like, okay. And you can imagine the lifestyle, because there's this whole like a law. That's why I love to use the Bop House as a real life example of the fame, the money. We were doing that. We were throwing parties in these multi-million-dollar mansions, the yachts, the cars, all the trash to try and allure you to come. You want to have this life? Come be a part of the agency. So we're doing all of that. So the partying's out of control, the drinking, the drugs, the high life. And I'm like, I'm miserable. I hate this. This makes me feel yucky. I don't feel good. Okay, what can I do to feel better? Because nothing's working anymore. So I was like, oh, well, maybe if I do something that's so extreme and good that it'll offset all the bad that I'm doing and it'll make me feel better. And so we were actually building my educational background. I dropped out of it, but was in psychology and psychoactive psychotherapy and like alt medicine. So we were actually building a medicinal cannabis company at the time too. So I was like, okay, I need to think of something that's extreme enough that I can like offset all the bad. And I had this genius idea. And I was like, I'll go help refugees. I was like, that's big enough. I'll go overseas. I'll help a bunch of refugees. I'll come back. The cannabis company will be up and running. I don't have to work at the agency anymore. Oh, happy days.
My scales are balanced.
Man. So I was like, that's extreme enough. That's big enough. And so I had, again, this random thought. And I was like, I'm 26 now. I was 24 at the time. And I hadn't been to church since I was maybe like 8 or 9, I think, like really young. And a limited exposure to church, I would say. But I was like, that church I went to as a kid had a refugee program. I was like, sick, I'll sign up for that. So Google the church, sign up, this little application for it. And this is where it starts to get like super, super cool. So you know how churches have like different departments and like different emails go to the different places? Well, the outreach team never got an email with my application. But what had happened was the young adults pastor got an email and I got to see it months later. And it said, Victoria wants to reach out to the church. Here's her number. Call her.
Wow.
Isn't that cool?
Wow.
And so I get a call from this random chick and she's like, hey, like, do you want to come down to church? And it was a Thursday she invited me. And like I'd alluded to kind of what was going on, but I just thought it was like the vetting process of what Christians did. Like I didn't really know.
Yeah.
So I rock up to this church on a Thursday and I remember I'm like sitting in my car at the front and I'm like, I can't go in there. I'm like, I am such a terrible person. I will literally burst into flames. I cannot walk into that church. I was like, there'll be a force field. Like I couldn't do it. And so I'm sitting there and I'm wrestling with myself and I'm like, Vic, you're just here. Like just walk in. That person's waiting for you. So I walk into this church and oh my gosh, she's my friend. Like she's one of my really close friends now. This young adults pastor, grown up with the Lord. I'm talking like sheltered, like just in the most beautiful way though. And this exceptional woman for 3 hours is hearing this unhinged girl be like, I sell porn. I'm kind of selling drugs. I'm kind of addicted to drugs as well. I don't really know what I'm doing. Like help refugees. Is that going to make it better? Like,
I'm trying to fix this, okay?
I don't know what I'm doing. Everyone tells me that this is good. I feel bad. I don't know what to do. I need help. For 3 hours, and this beautiful woman just sat there and listened. And she goes, I really think you should come to church this weekend. She goes, I really think you'll resonate with the guest speaker. So Sunday comes around, I go to church and I'm like in the balcony at the back. But get this, the guest speaker in church is talking about this over-sexualized culture. She's talking about OnlyFans and she's talking about the dangers of this and she's talking about how this is affecting children and what is happening because she goes to schools all around the country. And she said this line that I didn't understand it at the time. I had no context for it, but now it's like an ethos, I guess, and it just ripped my heart. She goes, Christians are supposed to be the salt and the light of the earth and they have failed and we are destroying the next generation. And I didn't understand it, but it just clicked. And I was like, this is wrong. I'm not crazy. What we are doing is wrong. And so when she finished speaking, I just ran down to her and I went up to this stranger and I was like, hi, my name's Victoria. I work for an OnlyFans agency and I hate myself. And she was beautiful. Again, she didn't do what I thought Christians would do. Like, mate, you're going to burn in hell. Like, you need to repent. Like, I don't know. Like, she goes, let's have lunch.
Oh, wow.
And she sat with me for hours and she answered all my questions. Isn't this like a safe injecting heroin room? Ethical porn, empowering, positive. And she just gave me the truth. And people have asked, did people mention Jesus? Did they pray for you and all? I was like, no, I wasn't a pet project to convert. I was like, someone sat there and treated me like a human, answered my questions. And God's big enough that his name doesn't even need to be mentioned. But after that Sunday, I just knew that this was wrong. And by the Friday, I quit the agency. I walked away from everything. 8 weeks later, I'm baptized and literally Like no joke, every single day since then. That was a year and a half ago. I've been talking about this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you started an organization. Is it creating gyms?
That's like my it's not like a non-for-profit, it's an actual like for-profit business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome though. But
Yeah.
your goal is to like help people see their worth and their value in light of the society that we live in, right?
Yeah, and like the heart behind it, originally I was like, I thought I was going to go into schools and like talk to young girls and stuff, but I was my first time coming to America was July last year, and that was like the first kind of little tour, I guess. And I noticed, and again, like there's this big cultural thing here, because we can kind of talk about, I guess, like the magnitude of the marketing of what's happening online. And I realized, I was like, there's so many exceptional people with wild stories, like women born in brothels that escape, kids escaping from cult, like these, and they have these wonderful non-for-profits, and they don't know what they're doing, like in the kindest way possible. And I'm like, dang, I was like, to see not a cultural shift, but a new culture being built, we need to not just like gatekeep, but we need to be able to empower and equip so many other people in understanding, how do you show up online? How do you get your message out there? And how do we actually build a different culture where we don't align with these things? So that's like the real heart behind GEMS, as well as kind of the other things of like, how do we get all of this information to be able to equip other non-for-profits or other countercultural voices to show up online so we can actually see a difference and see a change instead of just being inundated with hypersexualized content.
I think that's phenomenal. I'm grateful for the work you're doing now, and I love your story because I resonate with it, because I didn't grow up in church either. So it's just kind of like, I remember my first time in the church, I was like, the lady was like, "Are you saved?" And I was like, "What is saved? Saved from what? I don't know. I don't know this world." And I think God does something unique with people from the fringes of society, and just like you have a unique voice that no one else would be able to have. But you said something like about the safe heroin room, right? And I'm curious, like, if someone were to play devil's advocate and just say to you, well, this is a safer way for women to, like, it eliminates sex trafficking, you know, like at least they're not being sold. They have agency over their bodies. Like, what do you say to people who would like come with you with that type of thought process?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. I actually just recently did an event in Houston, and I had a lady say that to me. She's like, I thought OnlyFans eliminated the trafficker, but I'm now understanding that agencies are the traffickers. And so that's what we have to understand, is there's that element. And then
Yikes.
But it's true. And I think the US definition of human trafficking, it's like coercion and manipulation. And so again, well, is this free will? If again, we're seeing, like, the Bop House has 3.2 million followers on their TikTok, and they're influencing 3.2 million, predominantly probably young girls, into doing. So is it really free? Isn't that manipulation? Isn't that coercion? Isn't everything that the whole entire ecosystem of an agency that tells girls you need 4 to 5 TikTok accounts? We would hire experts that would study algorithms to be able to do very like intentional content. So it's like, and then it would go viral. And so then you're, again, softly influencing these people, putting them in funneling systems. Oh, well, this woman's rewarded, therefore that's what I have to do to be rewarded. Or this woman, she loves doing this, so I'm going to consume. Well, again, is that really free will? Is that really, or is this actually just a mass manipulation on a grand scale? Like, they're the questions I would pose, you know?
So for, like, the people who, like, some folks are just, they have blinders on for whatever reason, and they're participating in this the same way you were. You're like, something's not right, but I don't know. But have you seen the detriment in people's lives? Like, what are some of the things that, like, that we don't know that is like, man, this messes people up in these kind of ways? Like, whether it's the content creators, whether it's the agency workers, whether it's the guys on the other side, like, are there any things like that that you've seen that are like, yeah, this is what people don't see?
Totally. I have 3 stories.
Go
Can
for
I
'em.
share? Because
Yes.
I was like, dang, I was like, I don't know what one to pick.
Pick them all.
Okay.
We're here.
The first one is when I was working at the agency, and one of the girls who was working there, who was one of the OnlyFans girls, hated doing it, didn't want to do it anymore. Was like, I get anxiety doing this. It makes me feel sick, but I don't know what else to do. So I was like, okay, babe, let's sit down. Let's get you involved in the business side. sat down with her and I said, what are you good at? She goes, I'm good at being hot. I said, nah, come on. Like, what are you good at? I thought she was being like, she goes, no, Vic, I can't do anything else. This is the only thing that I'm good at. And that was the conversation and it was done. And the other one, which ties into that, and then the next one's kind of a little bit sad, but I guess it's just a reality. But the next one that ties into that is I recently held like an event back home. The context is kind of needed for this. And it was for like, I guess like freelancers, like creatives who don't necessarily have like a 9-to-5 job, because you know how like corporates have 9-to-5s, they'll have like a Friday night, like knock off, whatever. So a friend and I were like, well, why don't we do that for creatives? We'll make it like, we want Christians to come, but we'll invite everyone. And cool kind of space. And then you're not just having to get drunk on a Friday night with corporates. So anyways, this girl rocks up and she goes, what are you doing here? I said, what are you doing here? And I was one of the girls from the agency that used to work there. And I actually trained her in being an account manager, and she had an OnlyFans account.
Yeah.
She got talking, got to tell her the whole entire story, everything like that. And she goes, Vic, a week after you left, I left. And she goes, but it ties into the impact. She goes, I started doing something else. I have another business. She goes, do you know how much pride I have that I had an out. I had a hobby. I had a way to get out, because there's so many. I don't know what they're doing, Vic. She goes, do you know how cool it is that I can come to an event like this and I don't have to lie about what I do? I can have pride and say, this is what I do. And she is like, I actually am capable. I do have capacity. She's mirroring these words to me that I use. And I was like, yes, you do. And she's like, I'm so proud of myself that I realized that I actually can build money out of doing that.
Yeah.
And then the tragic thing in that though is a couple months later, one of her subscribers found all her brand new clients and sent all of her pornography to all these brand new clients that she had just built in a totally different industry that had nothing to do with.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And like I'd messaged her and I was like, we can get the police in. Like, do you want help? Like, what do you? And that's the reality that people don't think about.
Yeah. It's there forever.
Yeah.
Like you said. Yeah, you're not, a lot of times we're thinking about the moment, not the movement, like the long-term thing.
Yeah.
And that's tough. I mean, beauty for ashes. God bless that young lady, and may God like transform that into something amazing. But yeah, that's tough, man. So for you now, like what are the critiques? Like, are people coming at you saying, shut up, you're ruining our money? Or are they grateful? Like, is it a mix?
It's a mix. Like I've had people say that I'm not a girl's girl because I don't like encourage women wanting to do porn. But I think, yeah, and a lot of people are just like, well, who cares? Like let people do whatever they want. But again, I think like if you pull on the thread of let anyone do whatever they want, if you let everyone act out every single little thing that they want to do ever, like we're going to have a pretty scary place. So I get a mix, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. Usually like in trafficking, there's like a pimp in prostitution who takes a part of your cash for protection. But then, that generally doesn't end well. Those girls are abused by this person. And then you have some women say they have freedom from the power, the type of work they do with OnlyFans. But then there's this imbalance because the men are, I guess, the OnlyFans owners and whatnot are taking 20% of you showing your body on the internet. So it's kind of like they're saying they don't want to pimp, but someone is still taking a portion of their money, and I guess the agency as well.
Yeah,
so
we take a percentage,
right? So is there really the power that they think they have in existence, or are they still, like you're saying, they're being trafficked by the people who are taking a percentage and the agencies as well? What do you say to those women who are like, no, I got power, I got my agency?
Yeah, there is what is the difference, just say, in if physically we had a house with a bunch of girls and we were taking photos of them and putting it online and being like, you have to give us a certain amount of money for doing that, and we just physically housed them, between us doing that digitally and doing the exact same thing. like I say with recruitment, like we would cold message people and be like, hey, we love your vibe. We think you're so cute. What is the difference in us standing on a street corner and going up to young girls and saying, hey, you're really cute. Have you ever thought about doing OnlyFans? There's no difference. But people think because it's behind a computer screen, for some reason, it counteracts the, I don't know, the weight of it or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But there's no difference in what happens digitally to what happens physically, and they bleed into each other.
Yeah. I love that analogy. Matter of fact, I heard someone years ago say, you know, if you were sitting in a room watching people engage in, you know, sexual activity, would you feel like your spouse would approve of that? You know, and of course people are like, no, they would never let me just sit in a room and watch two people going at it. It was like, okay, what if you were sitting in the room next door, but there was like a glass wall? Would they approve of you watching them through the glass wall? And it's like, no, it's just, I'm still there, just a glass wall. I said, okay, what about if you're in the room next door, but there's not a glass wall, it's a camera? And they're like, no, because I'm sitting there watching them on the camera. And I'm like, okay, well, let's say you're across the country with the camera. What's the difference? You know, and it's like, when you think about it, we've desensitized it so much. And I love how you're putting it, because I wouldn't have considered that. It's like, yeah, you're still trafficking people, but it's got a different name. And I guess people would push back on that because like, no, they're not against their will. Especially in Australia, because it's legal. So, you know, they're not going against their will, but it's doing something internally to them. And then, of course, the damage in society as well.
Well, it's even more crazy because it's like, especially where it's legal, and I'm learning this more about like the push to have all of this legalized in America. We go into brothels back home and we just do like outreach. And again, people have this really big perception that it's women that, you know, they're put in the van and then they're brought here or whatever. Majority of them, they want to do it, in quotation marks. Again, it's because culturally, like even just say our biggest influencers are sex workers. And so like we met this one girl who was from Japan and she's like, yeah, I came over here on a year contract. I'm going to work in the brothels, earn a bunch of money so then I can go home and study.
Just casually. Like it meant nothing. Then we went to another one and it was a bunch of Aussie women and they're just having the time of their life on a Saturday night, working in the brothels. It's what they do. Like there's no barrier between it in any capacity. And it's like, is that, and again, that's like, yeah, there's this one influencer back home who's like a full service sex worker and talks about all his stories, and people literally will write, I idolize you. Wow. I love you. You bought a Tiffany's necklace. I went and bought a Tiffany's necklace. Like, and I'm just like, dang. So again, if we legalize these things or we desensitize ourselves, again, what you just said about culture, it's like, well, these are the realities of things that happen, you know? And I don't think we see the consequences of like the family breakdown of our conscious, like just our sense of morality and ethics just getting flatter and flatter and flatter to where, I mean, who knows where we end up? We're already somewhere bad. I don't know where we'll end up. But if there's like, I think there's like two camps, right? There's one camp who's kind of like, well, those girls deserve what they get. They made a terrible choice and, you know, they're dumb and good riddance to them, you know, like that's stupid. And yeah, just basically condemning what they're doing. And then there's another camp that's like, it's a sexual revolution. Allow them to be free. If they're making money and they're happy, don't bother them. Where do you think both camps get it wrong?
The first one, I just think of like, dang, I've made stupid mistakes. Look at what I did. Look at like, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. And there's every single person can sit there and be like, oh, that was a close. Oh, glad. Thank you for forgiving me for like whatever it is in whatever capacity. And that's what I struggle with a lot is, well, they deserved it. They this, they that. I'm like, but everyone wants grace. Everyone wants forgiveness. Everyone wants a second chance.
Yeah.
And it's like, so why is anyone else less deserving when we do make free will decisions that are really stupid? But unfortunately, that's a consequence of life. We do dumb things, and this, I guess, can come into faith. But unless you do have those guiding principles, and even then, you still make really stupid decisions. Like, you need grace. And so I just feel so much empathy for those people, because I'm like, how hard must they be on themselves, and how miserable must they be? Because if they can't accept, they must, like, there's something that is eating them up, you know? So again, that just comes into, damn, we're called even higher. We got to love on people even more. We got to show even more grace and like just the goodness of God, like, and just be ruthless in that, you know? And then for the people that say like the sexual liberation thing, like, okay, to be candid, like no one enjoys hookup culture. And if you do, you are totally desensitized and you're in denial. Let's be real. The amount of girls, conversations that you have, and it's a Saturday night and that dude messages you at 10 p.m. and you're like, should I do it? Should I go? Or what? Yeah, girl, you're single, you know, like just do it. And then you get there and then you do the deed and then he kicks you out and it's like 2 a.m. That feels horrific. Or even worse, sleep over, you cuddle, and in the morning he kicks you out at like 9 a.m. Like that's disgusting. No one feels good in that. And that's what we're promoting, you know, in the crux of it on the every day-to-day basis of what it looks like. And it desensitizes men. Oh my gosh, like what I hear men, even just at the gym, say about women and all of that. So it's like, is that really what you want to, does that really feel good? Like, let's, again, be realistic. Let's be honest. Let's pull the threads back and be like, what is it that we're actually promoting? Because that's not good, you know?
Victoria, you are my kind of people. I love it. Like when are you going to say something I don't like? That's what I'm waiting for. Okay, I want to show you a couple things and I just want to see your thoughts on what I show you.
Okay.
You ready? All right, here goes.
How do you both feel about your mom opening up an account?
I think it's great. I always just tell her I wish she waited a little bit because she started it right after I did. But yeah, it doesn't bother me at all.
It bothered me that she was getting backlash for owning her own sexuality and her being a woman and doing what she wanted to do, and that's why I joined it. I didn't understand it before, and then I quickly learned, but that's ultimately why I did it. And I kind of made a sort of a joke about it. I posted something when she did join, when people were making comments, because it's hard because she's so young and she was 19 or 18 when she joined.
I just turned 18 when I started.
She was 18 years old.
It was crazy.
For me, I thought, oh my gosh, for her at 18 to have people have negative comments about her, it really bothered me.
Okay. Dang.
Yeah, it's a lot.
There's so much to unpack. The three things that really stood out is, number one, you care more about people's perception of your child than you do about protecting your child. The negative comments really bothered me. How about the fact that your daughter is fresh 18 and probably doing full nudity on a but no, but it's the comments. Like, isn't that warped?
Yeah.
And then what was really interesting is she goes, owning her sexuality and what it means to be a woman. Is that what it means to be? Is that the definition of being a woman?
What the culture has created as our definition.
To be this sexualized, fresh 18, go like, show like, that's the ethos of a female.
And then
and a protective mother.
What does that say to women who are not, like, are not sexualized or not sought after in that kind of way? Are they not women?
There's so many little girls that, like, even just doing this tour this time, that come up to me, and when I talk to them about all this stuff and they're in tears, and I'm talking like 13, 14, 15. I don't want to want boys' attention anymore. I do things because I think that that's what they want. It doesn't make me feel good. I like literally can think of 2 girls that I had like in my arms in tears. How do you deal with the guilt? How do you deal with the shame? And I'm like, it's because of trash like that a protective mother is going, well, she's a woman, she owns her sexuality, and that we need to care more about her perception and celebrate her. And like, it's so, like, if that doesn't show you there's forces of good and evil in the world, like, I don't really know what does.
That's good.
Yeah.
I want to show you another one.
Okay.
I think sometimes like feeling so like robotic, like by I think like the 30th, you know, like when we're getting on a bit, I've got like a routine of like how we're going to do this. And like, it just, sometimes you'd like disassociate and be like, you know, like it's not like normal sex at all. In my head right now, I can think of like 5, 6 guys, 10 guys that I remember, and that's it. But it's just, I don't know, it's just weird, isn't it? Like, if I didn't have the videos, I wouldn't have known I've done 100, you know? But yeah. I think that was kind of the hard part, is like conversing with them, and like when they'd kind of be like, oh, like we've only had 2 minutes or 3 minutes and you said 5 on the message.
Did someone say that to you?
Yeah. And obviously it just makes me feel so bad.
Do you think you should feel bad about that?
I guess when you've promised something to people who support you, it's kind of hard to let them down.
But it's up to you, right? Like when you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you even processed, do you think, what's happened?
Not yet. God, I won't forget this day, Jesus.
Dang. I don't ever have like one answer.
It's fine. Yeah.
Like my two thoughts again on that is like, it just makes me go like, as people of faith, we know like what that girl's perception is of sex. Is it's a transaction. I'm just an object that therefore needs to be used. When I'm not used to my full capacity, 2 minutes instead of 5, I feel less than, because this is my only worth and value, that I'm this transaction for people to get something off, and that's what makes me matter. And it's like, but if we really understood what sex is, if we really understood, and not like just Christian words of, well, if it's in a fireplace, it's safe, on a couch, it's not, like all this trash that like Christians try to conceptualize what it means. So if we understood the power behind what this is and the significance, so again, it wouldn't be a conversation in and amongst itself. Like for me to understand biblically and scripturally and just in relationally with Jesus, the significance of this, dang, it's powerful. It's one of the most, no wonder why it's so attacked, you know? And so I just, again, it's almost like it feels like a call to action of people. If you say that like you're of faith, this is the consequence of us not understanding our scripture and understanding Jesus and not being bold and talking about these things that seem like they're awkward and uncomfortable, but the world is screaming it.
Yeah.
So why is it that the world can scream what Lily Phillips is doing and promote that and be so, like it's global, that 100 Men. Bonnie Blue is global, but yet we feel, well, it's a bit there, like really? And so that's just what that tells me, is of like, if we proclaim Jesus, if we love him, if we truly understand the significance of what it means holistically, then dang, we should be not afraid to have any of these conversations. So girls like that never get into positions like that, because she matters.
That's good.
You know?
That's really good. Yeah, there's a lot more I could say. I'm grateful. Like I'm enlightened. I've learned a lot. And I think anybody who listens to you learns a lot. If people want to know more or are interested in like what's the best way to connect or to hear your website, a book, is there anything coming for people on your end?
Yeah. So I actually just started like a podcast, and I actually have an episode that deep dives into the actual intricacies and everything like that. And we'll just chat about all these other things, the complexities, what does it mean to be a woman biblically and all. Like I love this stuff.
What's the name of the podcast?
Creating Gems.
Creating Gems podcast. Okay,
so,
yes.
That's the best way to connect through the podcast, and obviously through my Instagram, victoria.sinis. Or if you actually want to work with me in any type of consultancy or book me to speak to be able to deep dive into this, or even, I love talking about my testimony. Like, so people kind of book me for either or the Jesus element or the activist element. That's all through Creating Gems as well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
As they should. As they should.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you.
No, thank you again for your voice, for your wisdom, for everything that you contribute to the culture. And we need more like you. So please keep it up.
Thank you. This was so much fun. I really enjoyed it.
Me too.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Yeah, it was dope.
This is The Deep End with Lecrae.